Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Bookstack Coffee Chat. Hopefully you've grabbed yourself your own cup of coffee or whatever beverage you prefer. I am working on my second cup already today, but it's a good morning, and I'm so glad to be able to share it with you, as well as one of the books that I've been reading this week. So yesterday, my oldest son and I, we love to visit bookstores and libraries, and we went to our local Barnes & Noble and spent some time browsing around. And we both commented as soon as we walked in, wow, it's different in here. So they totally remodeled how the layout of the store is formatted, and they completely took out their Nook section. I don't know if maybe the Nooks weren't selling so well here at our local store, or if that's kind of a universal thing. I know last year, maybe a year and a half ago, Barnes & Noble was sold to a different company, and so I'd heard that each store was going to be allowed to place the books however they wanted. And so perhaps that's what was going on in our local store, because it was a completely different layout and much more open, and I actually liked it a lot better. A lot more signage. It's just a better feel. I liked it. So don't know if you've been into your local Barnes & Noble or not, so curious to see how things are in your end. But as I was there, as usual, just the types of books that are put out there just hung heavy on my heart, and that's why I am trying to build this Bookstack Coffee Chat to connect clean reads and Christian readers and authors to be able to support each other, because there's so few of that in the mainstream bookstores. Again, just everywhere you went, things that go against the Christ perspective, just right there in your face. And so many book covers now with, authors are trying to sell books, and I understand that we need to make a living, but it's so much shock value these days, between the pictures, the images, as well as the wording. So many of the words, have the little asterisk, so they don't exactly spell out the word that they're intending, but you know exactly what they mean. Just that kind of thing. So I would love to support really good quality books that you don't have to worry about your kids coming and leafing through and you being embarrassed or having uncomfortable conversations around. But more than that, books that honor God. So today, good morning. I see you popping on. Welcome, welcome. Today I was, actually this week, was reading a little bit more heavy material. So last week was the lighthearted week. Apparently, without even realizing it, I made this week the heavy week. And it all came about because my middle schooler is currently reading this book in his ELA class, and it ties in with their history class as well, because they're learning about World War II. But this week's book that I am reading is The Boy in Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. And this particular book is the 10th anniversary edition. So I actually saw the movie. They made a movie out of this book a few years ago, and I saw the movie before I read this book. This is the first time I've read the book. And so I noticed some big differences, but both very, very powerful, with very important and significant topics to discuss. I'll just read the front. They don't have the blurb on the back. They had some reviews. So in the front, they have the little synopsis, and it's Berlin, 1942. When Bruno returns home from school one day, he discovers that his belongings are being packed in crates. His father has received a promotion, and the family must move to a new house far, far away, where there is no one to play with and nothing to do. A tall fence stretches as far as the eye can see and cuts him off from the strange people in the distance. But Bruno decides that there must be more to this desolate place than meets the eye. While exploring his new environment, he meets a boy whose life and circumstances are very different from his own, and their meeting results in a friendship that has devastating consequences. Since its first publication 10 years ago, this powerful and unforgettable story has touched millions of readers around the world. So let me know in the comments if you have read this book or not. I'm not going to give it away just in case you haven't, or those watching the replay haven't read it. I do encourage you to read it. I always do try to read the books that my kids read in school anyway, just out of habit. But this was so powerful. First, it is set from the perspective of a 9-year-old boy, Bruno. And I think the author did a great job of getting into the mindset of a 9-year-old. So often as adults, we tend to forget about or gloss over what our emotions and thoughts were at that age. But kids really do perceive and understand more than we realize. And even in their naivety, they are able to grasp that things aren't right. They might not be able to put a finger on it or understand or explain it. But for example, the boy is mispronouncing things in the book. And at first I thought it was the author's, since it's a fictionalized story, not based on a true story, I thought maybe it was just the author's way of going around not wanting to actually say specific words, but later I came to understand it's how the boy himself understood the words. So, instead of, he was referring to the boss, his father's boss, as the Fury, and it's actually obviously the Führer, and refers to the place as out with instead of Auschwitz, things like that. But it's very, very powerful. And what was important, one of the main themes that I got out of this book was the importance of kindness and the importance of hope in difficult situations. So as it said in that little blurb at the beginning, Bruno does meet another boy on the other side of the fence. And Bruno could have just kept walking. He could have gone back to his house where everything was nice and warm. But Bruno was lonely. There were no other kids for him to play with. He does have a sister in the book, but they are different in ages and they don't necessarily get along. So he was looking for friendship. And he came across this boy. But instead of dismissing him because he looked different and was on a different side of the fence, he made the effort to listen. And so often in our life today, just listening to others, being willing to go up to someone and just introduce yourself and listen can be such an amazing act of kindness, right? And then that kindness led to a friendship that also led to hope, because they were looking forward to the day after the fence was gone and they could visit each other in Berlin. And hope helps us to continue on despite our circumstances. And as a Christian, we can look forward to the ultimate hope of eternity in heaven with our Savior. And that's what keeps us going through the difficult situations here today, which then leads me into some of the verses as I was reading this morning in my quiet time. I was reading in, get rid of that. There we go. In Mark chapter 12, verses 29 through 31. And the scribes were trying to test Jesus about, what is the best commandment? What is the first commandment? And so Jesus answered him, "The first of all the commandments is, 'Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. And the second like it is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these." And later in Luke, there is, it says there's a lawyer that comes to Jesus, and he is asking about the way to eternal salvation. And this in Luke chapter 10, verses 29 through 7, Jesus, the lawyer asks, but he, wanting to justify himself, said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" referring to the greatest commandments. And Jesus answered and said, "A certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came down the road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Likewise, a Levite, when he arrived at the place, came and looked, and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, 'Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I come again, I will repay you.' So which of these 3 do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the thieves?" And he, the lawyer, said, "He who showed mercy on him." Then Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." And so it's, again, having that compassion, having that kindness, and following the greatest commandment of loving others, and most importantly, loving God more than ourselves. So I hope that that's a bit of encouragement. Like I said, that was a little bit of a heavy read, a worthwhile read. Helps to put things in perspective of what's important, such as kindness and hope. So as you go on this week, I hope that you will continue to read, continue to join me next week. I always am here on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Facebook and on YouTube. So be sure to follow me here or subscribe over on YouTube so you don't miss any updates and announcements of when I'm going to go live. Also, encourage you to go over to my website, dailyandbickle.com. If you want to follow me there, I have blog posts that I put up there. I specifically help aspiring authors who want to write their first books. I have, toward that effort, a workshop coming up called Self-Publishing Unpacked. And that's going to be Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m. So you can go to the website listed there that I just put on the screen to sign up and learn more. But I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day and a blessed week, and I'll see you next week. Take care.